it's Elizabeth. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Find me at lameredith.com or on my podcast, Persistence You with Elizabeth. I'm an author, speaker, and coach part-time. Now, my movie most recently was the biopic about David Bowie, Moonage, I could be saying that wrong, Moonage, Daydream. I'd read a good bit about this biopic because it was very, very different. This is created like none other. If you're going to a movie and you expect a voiceover to tell you, a narrator to say, David Bowie was born here, and here's who he was married to, or wasn't married to, or had a drug issue, but then was able to resolve that. This is not that film. This was a very layered, very immersive experience. Some reviewers have likened it to being on a drug trip, and I never did any of those exciting kinds of drugs that would lead me to such experiences, so this was exciting. From the beginning, you're immersed in his music and different interviews. Here is a man that, of course, I adored. So I loved his music. He kind of scared me when I was a child in the early 70s because I've always been such a pleaser. And he was someone who said, I'm doing what I'm doing and I'm not apologizing to anyone. And it wasn't harmful things, it was just being different. So here's a man, a musical performer, an artist, who was more than happy to let people think he was gay or bisexual back when nobody was talking about those things. And people criticized him for dressing in women's clothing, and he made no apologies if that propelled his artistry. He wasn't afraid of his feminine side, and just an amazing mind. And so this biopic does him justice. You feel like you are with him inside of his mind. I enjoyed it. I would say the one thing that was a cautionary tale is if a person has hearing issues and they're in the big theater, because there are so many different sounds being layered on top of one another, I think it could be irritating if you didn't have closed captioning going on. There's a lot going on. One of the things I loved the most about him and about this movie is as it went on, you could see that it went from being a young person who was very, very much comfortable performing and doing art that maybe didn't always make sense to the audience, or maybe some of his sculptures and paintings didn't even have an audience at times, but he was happy to just be creating. And I think that is so incredibly inspiring. And he talked about life is an adventure. He knew at 16 that life was an adventure and he wanted to enjoy it as much as possible. Struggled with real things like depression and some other issues of being different and being not approved of necessarily or celebrated by his entire family. But on the other hand, as he got older, life got better and better, and that was very clear in his career, very clear. He became more and more positive, more excited about his life, and comfortable, very comfortable in his own skin. Loved the part that talked about his very old-fashioned romance with his wife that he had, Iman, the model, how they met and what a change that made in him. So I love this movie. I just loved it. And it was a little long. I like 1.5 hour movies. This was far longer than that, and I never noticed it. So for me, it was a 2 thumbs up. If you don't love David Bowie, and or if you're not interested in how people create art, this might not be your thing, but it very well may be. I feel sorry for a younger generation who won't get to see the difference people like him made in the life of artists. But this is a way that they can. So for me, I really enjoyed it. Let me know what you think. I'll see you next time.